I can live with this resolution if it's passed, but in fact, in principle, I'm going to vote against it because we've had advice, and I believe we've got an obligation to listen to our legal advisors. We also need to remind ourselves that this project, which the Council has delegated a significant proportion of the, or virtually all of the preparatory and investigation work to HBRC, is the biggest project that this Council, or for that matter, perhaps any council in New Zealand, has contemplated as an investment which, if successful, will have positively transformational consequences for this region. So the council has got to be in there and deeply involved, not just in the final decision, but in the process that leads up to it. And okay, I've been asked to be there as a director of HBRC, and I perform a function as the director of HBRC, but I'm there overridingly as a representative of the Hawke's Bay Regional Council. I don't get paid, it's hard work, the meetings are not that particularly enjoyable, and I'd love an excuse to get out, but I don't get out of anything unless I'm pushed out until the jobs have been done. I think one can overreact to so-called perceptions of public opinion, and it could even be perceived that this council is running scared because of the noise that's being made by the Green Party and a number of people who want to stop this project. And I just don't believe that that council or councillors should react to that sort of pressure. It's not doing our job properly for our wider constituency. So that's the position I'm taking at this point in time.
Other speakers, Councillor McGregor.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I've listened to the debate with interest and listened to Councillor Dick's comments, and they reflect my thinking to a very great degree. I'm going to vote against it too, although I won't be in any way offended if it's passed. I actually think that we've set this structure up rather well. I have no worries about the way we've done it. We've got a good cross-fertilisation between HBRC and this council, and I have faith in the objectivity and integrity of our council directors, that they will vote according to their oath of office of putting regional interest first. I don't believe there's any conflict of interest that concerns me. Here there is a perception of it, and yes, politically, perception is reality, but perception on its own, in fact, is the opposite of reality. And I believe that we should proceed along the lines that we are. I believe the public will understand that we've got a good balance in seeking to bring to fruition, if it comes to pass, this big project. And I have no objection to the way that we're handling it at this stage. In terms of our structure that we've got here, I might have problems with some of our public relations, but that's another matter altogether.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I'm going to support these recommendations from the point of view that they do give us some clarity. They do protect us from allegations of conflict of interest. And I'm just, despite what Councillor Dick has said, I'm not sure why he's not going to vote for these recommendations when his name is on the paper, which has put them, because I would have thought that would have been obvious that you would support them, or otherwise why would you put your name there?
I take issue with that.
Should do. The recommendations are up there, Councillor.
Yeah.
These ones here.
No.
Oh, sorry, I thought that we were going based on this paper, Mr. Chair.
If you followed the meeting, Councillor, there was a recommendation put by Councillor Douglas, which goes back to the body of the paper, not any appendages. And the resolution, quite simply, and apologies to my colleagues for having to explain this again, but the resolution quite simply requests more information on the different options.
Okay, well, that does. I still support this recommendation, which is in line with the other recommendations. And as far as the distinction between a holding company and an investment company and so on, I think in terms of the public mind, this is a holding company, as it is an investment company. And in fact, when we first started talking about setting this body up, it was referred to as a holding company, and public meetings were held with this body as a holding company. So I'm also aware, Mr. Chair, that there are two councillors, Councillor Curtin and Councillor Gilbertson, who are unable to be here today, and who I'm sure will welcome the chance to have input on this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Other speakers, Councillor Scott.
I think I should speak, Mr. Chairman, and I will refer to attachment 1 and to paragraph towards the bottom of that. And that is the importance that the recommendations show that making the investment would achieve Council's statutory and strategic objectives. I'll take it out of the context of that particular issue, and this is why I guess councillors are on the holding company in the beginning, is to see that investments would achieve Council's statutory and strategic objectives. Would a person such as myself, who's on both, say, be able to vote one way on one and one on the other? And I guess the answer is really no, because if you are thinking of your objectives for both of them. However, let's look at previous investment opportunities. When we were some years ago developing an investment policy for this council as part of our LTP, or as LTCCP as it was then. One of the recommendations was around investing in parking buildings as being a very safe investment with a good return. Now, maybe if we were sitting on the holding company and we were looking at this and saying, well, this is an excellent way of making your money, as a council you might say, does it meet our other bottom lines that we're asking? And that's when you start to question other values, perhaps. So there is a difference in the role as to whether one is looking at it purely as an investment, given that our statement of intent does suggest that we have to look at the environmental aspects of it and a slower line to achieve returns, given the importance of environmental issues. That is part of the statement of intent of the company. But even then, as a councillor, you're looking at a wider degree of values that you're trying to do. Maybe we might question now whether we would invest in Wellington, although I still think that was a particularly good investment in that it did allow us to achieve the returns that we wanted. So you still have those different issues as to why you're looking at the investment, and you're looking at it with different eyes. Don't think you'd go this way or that way. You'd look at different conditions around it. However, I support the motion as it is put there because there is a perception. I don't know how wide that perception is. None of us does. So the thing is, how do we manage that perception? And I think certainly it is worth really looking at that, because at the end of the day, a very thorough and a decision-making process with total integrity is important. And I think as both a councillor and as a director, I'm looking for a guide on that integrity of the decision making. So I think it is worth actually having a look at the options. Personally, I look forward to a day when we can actually see this in terms of a formation of a company perhaps under it as being one of the options that could be a good way out. But I'm also mindful that we do have other investments, and this council has an interest in those investments, and we want to make sure that we're protecting our interests in the whole process. So I think this is a very sound recommendation, and it just gives us, again, a way of being thorough in our management of it.
Point of clarification, Mr Chair, please. Councillor spoke about the statement of intent of the investment company. So is that when will that available to the public yet, or when will that be available?
Mr Chairman, our existing one is out there publicly, and it's quite clearly stated in it.
Wish to sum up?
Mr Chairman, the issue isn't here about whether councillors should be directors. That's a different debate which you've had earlier and maybe have again. It's about how people vote back here, as it were. And we've had advice, and Councillor Dick quite rightly said, but the advice to date is legal advice. And and Mr Webster very properly ducked the question of how you manage the political components of that, or the perception. And I think we really do have to solve this one as well. If, as I have said in my introductory remarks, the three councillors withdrew from the discussion, or rather the voting, not the discussion, the voting at the council meeting, my personal view would disappear, and I don't actually think this would be necessary. In other words, if they simply said that's what they'll do, but we haven't asked and that hasn't been offered. And that will resolve perception as well. So, and then everybody stays in their alignment. It isn't an overreaction, in my judgment. This is part of the change of the way councils operate, and this council was very, very slow in setting up a holding company compared to most other councils holding the assets that it did. And in my judgment, it was quite correct in doing so. It's also, and I'm sorry I'm introducing slightly new information, it's my judgment it has a lot more to go, and to some extent Councillor Scott's mentioned that. So it's about how we're going to manage this thing. It's also how we are going to manage councillors invariably wearing two hats. And I think that's the most difficult part of councillor directors anywhere. And it's bedevilled councils ever since Lates were established in 1989. And I think we're just doing what is the normal evolution, we're just doing it in a very messy way. So I think this will help us down the track. It means we've got an interesting discussion if it's passed down in August. If there's a lot of work to be done by August. But then hopefully we can put it to bed and then get on with the other wider things. So I'm recommending or hoping that everybody can support it, even though two said they're going to vote against it. I just hope we can actually do it and be seen to be trying to solve this rather than not going ahead on it. Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Were you aye or no? Doesn't matter, it's carried. Yeah, it's carried. Thank you. Well, we'll break for lunch now. Thank you very much, Mr. Webb. Welcome to join us for a healthy option lunch next door. You may need sustenance to get you to that next appointment. We'll resume at 1:10, please. Thank you.